Special welcome to all of you listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM and watching us on the Joy News channel. My name is Razak Musbao, and this is a special occasion. It's a Thought Leadership event and is brought to you by Joy Sports and also Joy Business. Well, I'm doing this with my colleague Muftan Abile. You're going to see him shortly. But today we're having a very, very important conversation. We're exploring the Ghana Premier League and also looking at the Saudi Arabian experience, what they are doing in the sporting environment, and to see how best we could take a cue from it and help develop Ghana football. Well, today we are live from the Labadi Beach Hotel, and you're going to see some of the finest brains in Ghana whom we have assembled here to help us with the discussion. And just gone by were the Down House Supporters Union. And let's put a round of applause to just appreciate them for the wonderful performance they put together. Yep. So we're going to have a very exciting conversation. We want you to be part of it. So just head to Twitter and just use the hashtag Joy Sports or Joy Business. Leave your comments there and be part of the conversation. We'll definitely get it across in the course of the show. Well, to help us appreciate why we are gathered here is the head of Joy Business, Mr. Charles Nixon. Let's welcome him with a round of applause as he comes to share with us the purpose of our gathering.
Observed. It's exciting seeing all these great players in the Ghanaian business and sports industries here today. Some of these individuals are direct investors, while others are contributing in various ways to enhance the game of football in Ghana. Indeed, today marks a significant milestone in our endeavor to transform football into a thriving commercial entity that can consistently contribute to Ghana's economy. In 2022, the global sports tourism market was valued at a staggering $587.8 billion, a testament to the growing popularity of sporting events worldwide. Events like the Olympics, the FIFA World Cup, the NBA, and others have played a pivotal role in propelling this industry forward. Nations such as Saudi Arabia and China have recognized the immense potential of football and have made substantial investments to attract top football talent, thus boosting tourism and economic growth. Importantly, football has evolved into a major economic force in many countries across the globe. To illustrate the English Premiership League, even amidst the challenges posed by the pandemic during the 2019-2020 football season, contributed a remarkable £7.6 billion to the UK economy and supported 94,000 jobs. Similar success stories can be found in Germany, Spain, and France, where football has become a thriving industry, fostering job creation and economic development through various value chain businesses. Regrettably, the same cannot be said for Ghana. We fondly remember the days when our stadiums were packed to capacity, fans proudly adorned their club's jerseys, and football was the talk of the town. I remember when myself and my dad, at the age of 10, were visiting the Accra Sports Stadium to cheer our beloved Accra Hearts of Oak to victory. But what has led to the decline of this beautiful game in our nation? How can we reignite the passion and properly brand football to make it not only appealing, but also a significant revenue generator? Finding a solution to these questions will not only attract corporate support for football clubs, but also result in substantial growth through talent development, infrastructure improvement, enhanced brand equity, and the positioning of Ghanaian football as an attractive global brand. In closing, I implore all of you present today, as well as those tuning in through Joy FM 99.7, Joy News, and our social media platforms, to actively contribute your ideas and recommendations. Together, let's pave the way for a new era in Ghana football, one that boasts world-class infrastructure, job opportunities, heightened brand value, and much more. Thank you, and I wish all of us a fruitful deliberation.
And that's Mr. Charles Nixon. He's the head of business at Joy News, Joy FM, and Joy Prime. And very, very interesting conversation there. So today we are looking at repurposing our approach to football development, looking at the Saudi Arabian experience. Let me introduce my colleague who's going to help us in this, who's going to be helping me in today's discussion, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. He's the host of Prime Take and also presenter on AM and Joy News Today. Let's appreciate Muftau as he joins me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So Muftau, we have a very exciting discussion to have today.
Exciting discussion. And just last week, when I was doing the AM show, I was, one of my stories was from the Teshi AstroTurf that recently you unveiled. And I heard him mention that football is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
Why is Ghana not taking advantage of that? If it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, then there's something that we are not tapping. Have we positioned ourselves in a way that the corporate world will be willing to invest in the game and give talent the opportunities? He mentioned that he has constructed about 5 AstroTurfs and he wants to do more. Yeah. They've got about 7 footballers out there, and very soon we'll hear their names. Hopefully you mentioned the names here for us, isn't it? So with you up there, to have interesting conversation. Yeah. My media right is our boss, our editor, Gareth Smith. Yeah. Give me a round of applause, Gareth Smith. I'm sure you've been reading from him, from CNN, from BBC, Supersport, everywhere. Gareth Smith is
a well-traveled sports journalist.
A well-traveled sports journalist, yes. And Prof. Robert Hinson, Professor of Marketing, and he's also the Pro-Vice Chancellor of University of Communications and Technology. Thanks very much for your time. And in the middle is the executive chairman of McDan Group. As I mentioned earlier, he's already said it. Football is a multi-billion-dollar industry. He's been investing in football. And I remember in 2017, I had the privilege of meeting him in his house. He has a very large tennis court there. If you haven't been there, you need to go there and see it. And he said something quite interesting, that if you don't invest in the youth today, what you think you have doesn't belong to you. They'll come and take it away from you someday. So you need to invest in the youth if you want to give them opportunities. And he's a businessman, someone who's done it. I remember recently when I was listening to him talk about when he was doing his master program. One day he looked at his bank balance. I was like, why am I struggling to go and do a master program when I have this amount of money in my bank account? So definitely he's someone who is willing to invest in the youth. Do we have the talent? Yes. It's an obvious question. Every day we talk about Ghana being a football nation. If we are a football nation, we need to create a platform for the talents to be unearthed. And tonight, here with us is McDan. In 2010, Africa had the opportunity to host the FIFA World Cup. It was the first time ever. And many of us will recall Ghana made it to the quarterfinal. But there's the other part you don't want to remember. So I will not talk about that. And FIFA decided that there was a man in Ghana who had the brain to be able to spearhead the marketing of the competition. And he's also a former chief executive officer of Accra House of Oak, Neil Armstrong Motabe. Before we started, you heard his voice. So my colleague on the Joy Sports desk, and he's a host of Sports Now on Joy Prime, and also Joy News Prime on the Joy News channel. Have a good conversation.
I think evidently we have pretty much the right people to engage in this conversation.
Perfect. Perfect.
You know,
We could have assembled the best brains to be able to share with us. There are 1,001 people out there who also have got ideas of how we can develop football in this country. And as you mentioned earlier, this is a conversation that is open to everyone. They can share their thoughts with us using the hashtag #JoyThoughtLeadership so that we can read out to. If you have questions too, you can send them across, and then our panel will do the honors of answering those questions.
Well, we're going to get the grounds running now, and we're going to start with. It's okay to call you my boss,
No.
He's got to ask me.
He's going to ask me.
I never like to be called the boss.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Gary Alsmith. Gary, you have traveled around the world. You've seen the experience of England. You've seen the experience of Spain. You've seen the experience of Italy. And coming up now is the experience of Saudi Arabia. It's one that has gotten everybody talking. The Italians are talking about it. The English are talking about it. The Spanish are talking about it. Some are calling a bluff of what they are doing.
Yeah.
But it does appear that they have a plan and they're executing it, to the awe of everybody. Yeah. Help us appreciate exactly what is happening in Saudi Arabia as far as their football is concerned at the moment.
It's a privilege to be here tonight, and I think this discussion is more than important for a few reasons. The man, because of whom everybody is talking, is only 37 years old. I need us to understand this. The visionary who has got all the major footballing powerhouses quaking in their boots and shaking is only 37 years old. He's the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, MBS. Now, at 37, he is the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia. Now, in his own words, he looked at the demographics of Saudi Arabia randomly one day on his phone, and it hit him that there was something not right about the demographics he was seeing vis-a-vis the plan that the government or the ruling class of Saudi Arabia were doing. What did he think they were doing wrong? Now, he says when he looked at the population, and there are 18 million people in Saudi Arabia, right? 18 million. This big, vast country, there are 18 million human beings there. He realized that 63% of those 18 million people are below the age of 30. I need to repeat that. 63% of those 18 million people are below the age of 30. What even hit him even harder was that of that 18 million, 50% are below the age of 25. Which means that 9 million or more of Saudi Arabia's population were 25 or below. This was in 2018. Now, he probably spoke to Dr. Daniel Macaulay, who had spoken to Muftau 1 year before, because Muftau says he met him in 2017, right?
Yeah.
And Doctor told him that if you don't build things for the youth, one day what you think is yours, they will take it. So, MBS, as they called him, the Crown Prince decided that he cannot have 50% of the youth being under the age of 25 or 25 and below, and have the Saudi authorities doing, some other projects and not focusing on the youth. So he commissioned research agencies to look at what the youth wanted. Overwhelmingly, sports and entertainment came top. So in order for the youth not to grow up, take guns and take his money and the rest of the ruling class's money, he decided on that day, at that time, to bring the sport they wanted to Saudi Arabia. Because remember, Saudi have a lot of money, just like Libya used to do. They take care of education. They take care of, education is free to the university level. Saudi citizens, when they grow up, lots of us have been to Dubai, so we know this story. In those states, after you are done with school, you are given a plot of land, you are given a house to live in as well. But if you are having all these things and you have children and they are bored, you would find something to do. And that is why from 2018, they started pumping billions of dollars to bring sports to Saudi Arabia, because the youth needed to be kept busy, needed to be kept entertained, and most importantly, the youth had money to spend, and they needed to spend it in something. That is why, for those of you who are sports freaks, you might realize that wrestling, which all of us, it used to be on GTV, but now all the stations show it. These days, the biggest wrestling events of the year, which they call WrestleMania, now calls Saudi Arabia its home. That was the first big global franchise that they bought to test the waters. They spent $100 million on that to buy it over a 10-year period. So that every year, WrestleMania, they do what they call the Raw, the SmackDown, all those are like qualifiers. And then WrestleMania is like the World Cup. They do it. In fact, just to give you an idea of how serious Saudi is, when I started going to South Africa around 2010 or 2009, the wrestling, South Africa were similarly trying to attract that sort of investment, which included the World Cup. They brought WrestleMania to Johannesburg. Saudi went to the organizers of WrestleMania, that's WWE, and said, "Boss, what is South Africa giving you?" And then they just doubled it, tripled it, and then they brought it there. So the reason why I think this is important is that, just like Saudi Arabia, maybe one day, one leader in Ghana will look at our own population and understand that in order for the youth not to take matters into their own hands, probably we should start investing into these things. What are our figures? Of the 31 million people that we have in our population, according to the last census, 35% are between the ages of 0 to 14. 35%. 35%. 38% of our 31 million are between the ages of 15 to 35. I need that to sink in. Only 4% are over 65 years in this country. So if you spend your resources catering to the 4%, you are wasting your time. That is not to say we shouldn't take care of our aged. It's important. But it is a no-brainer that the bulk of our national cake should go into securing the future and the busyness, not the business, but the busyness of the youth. Because if this 0 to 14 and 15 to 35 don't have anything to do in the next 10 years, you know what they say about the devil and idle hands? The devil will find work for the idle hand. And those are my opening remarks.
Very interesting opening remarks. Let me come to Prof now. Prof, just to add that Prof has 2 doctorate degrees. Oh. And Prof, when I read that, oh, wow. When I read, I was like, wow. Oh. And hopefully when I grow up, I want to become like you. But Prof, let's get to it though. I mean, you've heard to some extent, the context that was provided by Gary Al-Smith. When you consider what is happening in Ghana, what will be your assessment as opening remarks? What will be your assessment of what we've done with sports in this country to help grow our economy?
I think it will be, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Gary. Good to see you, sir. More than what I think, I'll tell you what Tony Yeboah thinks. There's an article I saw where he said football in Ghana is dead, 7 June 2023. And he's saying that I don't know what's going on because I don't follow the football anymore. Everyone knows Ghana football is dead because they didn't listen to advice we gave them from the beginning. So I think they are currently facing the punishment. And he said if you involve bribes and stuff like that in football, you will destroy the game. Then the famous Honorable Eugene Boachi, who is also a big man, I think, Vice Chairman for Youth Sports, he also says that Ghana football needs some urgent change in leadership to rescue the diminishing fortunes of the sport. Then Neil Ante van der Boy, 7 July this year, said Ghana football is designed to fail because he believes the structure of football is breeding failure. So I hear you on the youth thing, totally profound, but here's what's going to happen apart from Saudi responding to the youth demands.
Yeah.
Eventually, a business case will be built. So when Manchester City makes 731 million euro last year, and Real Madrid makes 713 million euro last year, the journey did begin 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's something about a systematic build-up that can start from investment in youth. But as the sports ecosystem builds, you have certain spillover effects. Look, when Hearts won the Champions League early 2000, I was working in a famous agency in Adabraka called Originate with the famous Joel Nett and the late Daniel Chung. And those days, Joel had some connection with some sports marketing agency. They were the agency for the CAF. So Canon was the lead sponsor. So I remember through that Canon affiliation, we managed to get Canon, Acer, Symantec, Microsoft, and APC from Oman Fufro. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm very much aware about how a certain brand appeal, a certain marketing acumen builds the sports proposition, whether it's football or basketball or baseball. Yeah. But here's my challenge. I think that when you take the global infrastructure, FIFA, then you have continental infrastructure, then you have the local football associations, I'm not too sure if the interlinkages are to our benefit. I'll explain. We are all jostling for the best football images, the best football propositions, and sometimes I wonder what benchmark. You said the guy looked at his phone and looked at demographics. I was writing. So there's a certain sense in which research, data, insights informs this sort of decision making. I'm not too sure if it's available or not. But I remember he said he was 10. I was younger. I went to Merton. It's right next to the stadium. Then I went to Richard. So I started going to the stadium from as soon as I could even talk. My uncles took me. We used to go there at Sunday like 9 a.m. to watch Hassan Kotoko around 3. I remember Jesus Danton and Samson Lamte. And because I lived in Osu, I remember Salem Park too. They used to play over there. So I've sort of seen football grow. But I'm not too sure whether it has grown backwards or grown forwards. I'm not too sure because, no, for the life of me, I don't think I was going to go near any football match this weekend. But I saw the Man U miracle. I saw Barca come back to fight before the referee blew his final whistle. Why am I oscillating between the UK and Spain when I live in Legon? I mean, something is not working.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that if, as locals, we don't consume the football product, who in Serekunda in the Gambia is coming to consume it? Who is coming from Windhoek in Abibat or from Richards Bay in South? No, nobody will consume it. So I think we need to redefine this football proposition at a basic level. And then the youth proposition makes sense. But for me, more than the youth, where's the strategy? I'm not too clear. Maybe you are a sports guy, you can explain to me. But I'm not too clear where the strategy is. Whether it's coach football or it's regional football or it's the Premium League. I'm not too sure where the strategy is. But I think that we need to redefine the football proposition and be clear on what we want to achieve. And then for what it's worth, we have beyond the return and after the return and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure that football is part of our tourism proposition. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I think that we need to think through this at a broad macro level. And then at a policy level, I agree what we want to do with the sport. It will trickle down into the various substructures. Then football can really make a difference. Those will be my opening remarks. Thank you.
Let me come to Dr. Macaulay now. Doc, so I was just skimming through the internet and I realized that in 2021, you decided to sponsor Great Olympics to the tune of $270,000. That was massive. Then you've also decided to expend some of your resources in the establishment of AstroTurfs. And just recently, the Vice President commissioned an AstroTurf that you built at Teshi, the Teshi Sports Complex, to the tune of 30 million Ghana cedis. For a businessman to be expending his resources in sports infrastructure to this extent, it begs the question, what have you seen in Ghana football, for which reason you've decided to expend these resources. You go to England, now Manchester United is up for sale, and the billionaires are scrambling for it. Newcastle was up for sale, and we saw how they were scrambling for it. Likewise, Chelsea. Whenever a club is up for sale in England, we see billionaires scrambling for it. You come down here, with the exception of you and a few others, it does appear the business community is not particularly interested in the football industry in Ghana. What have you seen in Ghana football, for which reason you are expending your resources to the extent that you have done? And I'm sure you've been interacting with some of your business people. Why are they withdrawing from the Ghana football industry?
Well, thank you very much. I see things differently. And I believe in Ghana, and I believe in the Ghanaian talent. If you look at McDonald's history, we've been very consistent, and the way we support the youth and the youth in sports. You cast your mind back. Football was like magic in Ghana.
Yeah.
So I woke up one day and I asked myself, what is going on? I was going to the stadium. My father was a House of Phone fan.
Yeah.
But I am Olympics, so
Only that day.
we seem to argue a lot. And he loved football, I loved boxing. If you look at what is going on in Ghana right now, we need to believe in ourselves and believe in our youth. And we have to say that we can do it. Why is McDonald doing all this? One thing I cease to do in this country is to talk about problems. The problem we came to meet, we'll continue meeting the problem, we'll live with the problem, a problem will always be there. So I taught myself to be a fixer. I normally don't complain. I normally don't want to talk about problems. I try to see opportunity and how to take advantage of an environment and make the best out of it. Not for myself, but for the youth and the future. So our investment into sports is heavy. And I am already seeing changes. And I believe that if in my small corner, or in McDonald's small corner, will be able to make a change, that will be a very great change. And look at where we are positioning our parks. They are very strategic. Yeah. They are densely populated. And when you enter into those communities, there's nothing much there to be done. And we're changing lives. And if 30 million Ghana cedi in some corner in Teshi, if you want to develop sports, especially football, it's not immediate.
Yeah, the return is not immediate.
The return is not immediate. You have to have the lever to be able to do it. If not, you'll break. And if you don't see the future, it's very difficult for you to do it. And if you go into supporting or trying to invest in it for sure, believe you me, you'll break down the line. It is very expensive, but if you look at a young man running up and down the field with natural talent, something's supposed to touch your heart. So those are the things I look at. And I was once a street child, so it's easy for me to identify myself with the guys down there. I was once playing football on the streets. We were swimming. We were just right here, always playing soccer here. So I really see myself in them. So why now that maybe God had brought me this far, I shouldn't throw back to where I'm coming from. And I believe in the youth. I believe in the Ghanaian talent. As I'm talking to you right now, I have a scout in here from Lyon. It's coming from Lyon, from Atletico Madrid. she's living on Saturday. She's picking 5 young kids from here. These are the investment I'm talking about. And when she came in, she told me that she had never been to Ghana. She thought there's no talent in Ghana. Every time, she's a French, so she always goes to Senegal, Ivory Coast, all the French-speaking countries. So if you look out there, you see more French players than English players. They have been able to market the French countries more than the Anglophone countries. And she said what she saw in my park in Sege, he was surprised. He said our players, the Ghanaian players, play with finesse and they listen to coaching. This is my first time hearing this. But every time I went onto the field, I keep shouting and shouting. I think that I keep shouting. Not knowing there's something good in here. And she gave a good account of what she saw. And she said she would prefer to come here than Senegal. So I believe in Ghana. I believe that we came to meet problems, but I don't want us to sit down and be bring over our problems. In our small way, we can be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very insightful. Very insightful there. Let me come to Neil Armstrong now. Neil, you have been a fan. In fact, you are the head of Heart of Oak fan group, the supporters group, once upon a time.
It's the chapters.
The chapters. Yeah, you were also the chief executive officer of Accra Heart of Oak. And for a very long time, you have worked with various Ghana Premier League clubs and even worked with FIFA, you know, as a marketing consultant. My question to you, as your opening remarks, is that reflecting all these years that you work in Ghana, in the Ghana Premier League, in Ghana football industry, say over a decade now, what's your reflections? What's your assessment of the league within the last 10 years?
Well, I wish you'd given me this question before I came and sat here, but I'll still try and give a few reflections. But I'd like to say it's a good forum that we have, and listening to Mr. Macaulay was very, very inspiring. And the school of thought that I reckon he comes from is one that I belong to, and that's a solution mindset. And I might digress a little bit from your direct question on the Premier League over the last 10 years, because I believe in statistics, I believe in research. And if I'm not clothed with the level of research I need to do the kind of analysis I should do on the question you asked, I might do a disservice to your listeners and to your viewers. And that's why I may make some general comments on it, but I'll draw from what Mr. Macaulay came from. Solution mindset. You know, I've been following this game since I was a kid. I lived in Osu and became a Heart of Oak supporter at almost birth. And I also went to the stadium in the heady days of 77, when we played a certain half-year club of Guinea, and the stadiums were always full. Yes, they were full. Come to 79, Union Douala, the stadiums were full. Even up to when I became managing director of Heart of Oak, as recently as 2013, we got a record crowd at the stadium. And so the question you ask about the last 10 years of our league, I'll say it's a hydra-headed question. But Mr. Macaulay talked about solution mindset, and that's what I want to focus on. And with the greatest respect to every Ghanaian listening to me here, I want to put it on a very subjective level. I think we talk a lot and do very little. And that's the problem, not only of Ghana football, not only of Ghana sports, it's a problem of this nation. That's why Mr. Macaulay says it's about solution, solution, solution. I started writing and talking about Ghana football in like 1994. Don't ask me how old I am. But yes, that's when, the consciousness came to make a contribution around that time. And so, like I said, I'm a phobian, so I'll go for Heart of Oak meetings. A lot of things happen. But you just want to see, where can you bring a solution? Where can you help to make this better? And to preface my opening remarks, it's just to appeal to everyone that is in this room, listening to Joy FM, listening to all your sister stations, and watching Joy News. Ghanaians, we need to look to become part of the solution. We've been part of the complaining gang for too long.
Yeah.
It's time for us to become part of it. So, Mr. McDan, I salute you from the bottom of my heart. I want to commend you for what you are doing, not only for Ghana football, because I also follow you and follow the stuff that you do. It's this kind of mindset that will develop our nation. So many young people leaving this country for all manner of reasons. Our football talent leaves this country for as little as $1,000 United States dollars to go and play in Ethiopia. That is the problem. How do we cure it? You talked about why are people leaving, why corporate Ghana not coming in here. Corporate Ghana want to see a brand that they can associate with. And that's why I will commend this FA, that after we had 2019, announced number 12, we all remember that. 77 of our referees were caught on record doing stuff that didn't enhance the integrity of our game. Fast forward to a little in 2020, COVID-19 hit Ghana. Our president, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, shut down football. For 2 years, almost 2 years, our football was comatose. There was nothing happening. So when Tony Yeboah says Ghana football is dead, I can understand him. When he talks about some of the ills of our game, I'll be the last person to run away from them. Because as House of Folk MD, I could get a call from a referee before a game and say, hey, Papa, what's up? I'm refereeing your match this weekend. What is the referee calling me to say this? Yes.
Wow.
And so when you have those conditions, and I talked about 2019, and announced that the number 12 expose, 77 referees. And then COVID-19 strikes us. And after that, with a brand as sullied, as dirtied as our football, a certain young man called Kurt Edwin Simon Okraku, and I've had debates with him about stuff that I think is not working well with Ghana football. But if I want to salute him, when I say I salute the FA, is that in spite of all these problems, solution mindset, from 4 sponsors, the FA ran to 24 sponsors. This is after all the negativities. 20 sponsors added. A sponsorship income of 2.3 million Ghana cedis increased to 23.1 million Ghana cedis. 909%. In spite of all the negativities, it's that solution mindset I call all of us to. It's easy to see the problem. It's easy to complain about it. So come to our league. 10 years ago, I was MD of House of Folk, 2013. Okay, it didn't last for too long. But yeah, I mean, life happens. But in that 1 year, we still had the challenges that we had as a country. We had the challenge of competing brands. You had the EPL. You had the La Liga. We spoke about it. So the question is, how do we position ourselves such that in spite of those competitive pressures, we can still hold our own and have Ghanaians consuming the Ghanaian game? Somebody meets me in the street and says, Neil, what team do you support? I say, I support Accra Folk. No, I mean, what team do you support in Europe? And I tell the person, I'm not a European. I am a Ghanaian. Not Ghanaian, no, Ghanaian. All right, and I am a die-hard supporter of Accra Folk. I support no other club. See, what I'm saying is it begins with us. Fine, we can point fingers at everybody who has a role to play in getting the game to be as exciting as we expect it to be, but we ourselves, what do we think about ourselves? We so imported the foreign cultures that we've lost our own. I worked with FIFA for 7 years as a marketing instructor. There was a time we went to Zurich for a meeting, and everybody was talking about the club that they support. And people were talking, I mean, an American would say, I support Barcelona. And then a Swedish person would say he supports Real Madrid. Neil, what team do you support? Glorious Accra Folk.